Kiralee, I have to ask you about this. Scott Morrison gave his valedictory speech as he exited the parliament this week. How do you view his record in the battle to protect girls and women from the march of the LGBTIQA+, gender fluid ideology?
Yeah, not too well, actually, Lyle. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's a whole other thing to walk the walk. And he had a lot of opportunities to back up, his supposed views on these things. And often he would come out and actually oppose our views. And when he had opportunities, I think you wrote about it really well, Lyle, saying that, people like Catherine Deves and Claire Chandler, they really stepped up in his, last few months and year of being Prime Minister. And he refused to back them. Claire Chandler's bill to save women's sports is a very reasonable bill. It's based on law, it's based on reality, it's based on facts. And he was more than happy to, push her out in front of the bus and not support her. So I don't have a lot of personal respect for him. And I hope that it's a real wake-up call to other politicians in the space, that other politicians are able to be activists and, promote their ideology or their religious beliefs. And so it's more than fine for those of us who have that Judeo-Christian ethic and basis for our morality, that guides us and governs us. He could have been a lot more assertive in those things. And I think that other politicians should do that and step into the gap, because when there's a gap, someone will fill it, and we'll end up with the Lydia Thorpes and, people like that who really aren't contributing much to the level of politics in this country.
They certainly aren't. Well said. A big disappointment, sadly, that Morrison was. Now, Kiralee, to Victoria, according to a mother of a 15-year-old girl who wants to identify as a boy, the child gender clinic at the Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital will refer girls to surgeons willing to perform double mastectomies. The revelation was made by the mother on a transgender support group online forum and reported by the incredible journalist Bernard Lane on his Substack. Now, the mother wrote, and I quote, "Happy day today. Just been informed there's a surgeon that our gender clinic recommended here in Melbourne that will do top surgery on my 15-year-old son," i.e. her daughter. "This will be a massive breakthrough for his mental health," etc., she goes on. Now, Kiralee, this is a huge story. It's not been reported by the mainstream media. Why? Again, we ask this question all the time. What more has to be done to get politicians to take action?
Look, I think this really reveals the insidious agenda behind it all. Like, for one, a woman to celebrate the mutilation of her daughter for the sake of something that, there's obviously underlying issues that girl needs to have addressed, and cutting off her breasts, putting her at risk of major infections, putting her in the pathway of a very early and destructive menopause is a really terrible thing to do to another human being. And a 15-year-old cannot consent to that kind of level of permanent and making her a lifelong permanent medical patient. It's just the mind boggles. We know that politicians and the media have come out in the past and said, this never happens, this never happens. Well, it does happen. Yep. We've stood our ground. We said it is happening, and now there's proof. And Bernard Lane should be commended for his persistence in this area, because he does excellent reporting.
Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. And as you said, politicians keep saying that double mastectomies are not being done in the gender clinics on minors. And the Victorian Health Minister, Mary-Ann Thomas, has been telling the courageous Upper House MP, Moira Deeming, in response to a question on notice that Deeming put to her, and I think we've got this quote. Thomas writes, "The Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital does not provide or refer children to surgical treatment." Now, according to this mother of the 15-year-old girl, that's obviously not true. Thomas is either badly briefed or is covering up for the child gender clinics.
Oh, what a shock. A politician might have lied. Like, they were all surprised, aren't we? That same clinic, Lyle, says on its website that puberty blockers are reversible, and we know that's not true. We know that the effects of those are long-term. So I'm not surprised that either the clinic there or the politicians, or both, have lied to the media and to the public about this. But what's really distressing is that these young children are going to be permanently, irreversibly, catastrophically harmed, and they're not taking any responsibility for this. They're deceiving people into saying it's not happening when in fact it is clear that it is happening, and it must stop. And there must be an inquiry into these practices to stop more children being put in harm's way.